Two friends went on an exploratory dive at Cenote Calavera, the Temple of Doom. They planned to stay within the daylight reflection of the cave until one of the friends got the urge to explore a dark and tight passageway and got stuck. Would he make it out alive? The Temple of Doom, also known as Cenote Calavera, which means Skull Cave in Spanish, is located near Tulum on Mexico's Mayan Riviera. It's the first cenote you'll encounter when traveling on Coba Road, just 5 minutes from Tulum. The name of this cenote is related to its 3 round openings on the cave's ceiling, which resemble the eyes and mouth of a skull when seen from above. Although it may seem small at first glance, the cenote widens as you go deeper below the surface. Exploring this cenote involves diving in a series of loops around the main area and gradually ascending with each loop. What makes the cenote unique is that it's filled with halocline water because it's near the ocean, which is a combination of freshwater and saltwater. Unlike other cenotes, where these waters mix to create a mildly salty pool, in Cenote Calavera, they form distinct layers that sit on top of each other. This creates a fascinating visual effect. When you visit the cenote, you'll be greeted by a large canyon that's filled with numerous passageways and caverns to explore. The cenote maintains an average annual temperature of about 77 degrees Fahrenheit or 25 degrees Celsius, providing a comfortable environment for visitors. It has a depth of approximately 53 feet, and for your safety, there's a permanent guideline that you must follow at all times while diving or swimming. As you venture into the cenote, you'll come across a cavern adorned with stunning rock formations. What truly captivates visitors is the way the beautiful natural light streams through the small entrances above, casting enchanting patterns that resemble a skull when viewed from below. It's a sight that will leave you in awe. To immerse yourself in the refreshing waters of Cenote Calavera, you'll walk along a path that spans about 200 feet. Once you reach the designated spot, you can take a jump from a height of 8 feet into the water. For your convenience, there are sturdy wooden stairs available to ensure a safe exit from the cenote after you've finished your exploration. Abram Major worked as a teacher in a high school in Mexico. During his time in high school, he excelled in swimming and discovered a deep passion for diving while he was in college. Once he completed his studies, Abram pursued a teaching career where he found joy in educating young minds. Little did he know that his love for diving would soon intertwine with his professional life. One day, while on a diving excursion, Abram had the opportunity to meet Diego, a fellow diver. To their surprise, they discovered that they both resided in the same neighborhood. This unexpected connection sparked a special bond between them, and they quickly became dive buddies. Their shared love for exploring the depths of the underwater world created a strong friendship that extended beyond their diving adventures. Abram Major and his dive buddy Diego made thorough preparations for their upcoming dive at Cenote Calavera, their next diving location. They planned to embark on the Loop Dive, a thrilling underwater adventure that they had been eagerly anticipating. Aware of the potential dangers within the underwater cave system, they both agreed to remain within the areas illuminated by daylight. The cave system posed a risk of getting lost or disoriented in the darkness, making it a place that required utmost caution. Undertaking this diving trip required courage and a strong spirit, as the journey they were about to embark on was not for the faint of heart. It all began with a lengthy walk of about 200 feet leading them to the entrance of the cenote. They arrived at the site at precisely 11:30 a.m. Abram and Diego prepared to take a daring leap from an 8-foot ledge, plunging into the mouth of the skull-shaped opening. As they entered the crystal-clear waters of Cenote Calavera, the divers were greeted by the beautiful effects of the sun's rays penetrating through the small entrances above, creating a mesmerizing display of light beneath the surface. After entering, they discovered themselves surrounded by greenish fresh water and started going deeper into the darkness. While descending, they noticed a guideline that would lead them to the beginning of the permanent cavern line, located 20 feet below. At first, they encountered a talus cone, which is a term used in cave and cavern diving to describe a heap of debris often found near entrances. They followed a guideline that guided them further down the side of the talus cone. This guideline led them through a halocline at a depth of 33 feet, where they transitioned from freshwater to warmer saltwater below. Eventually, it brought them to the cavern, located at a depth of 52 feet. This enormous hollow space has an average diameter of more than 165 feet. Typically, they want to explore the cenote by following a series of loops along the main perimeter, starting at the deepest level of 52 feet, which is where they are. So they gradually started ascending with each loop. While making their way up the loop, Diego led the way, while his friend followed. Abram became captivated by the remarkably intricate caves and narrow corridors, momentarily forgetting to stick to the well-lit areas. As his friend ascended, curiosity got the better of him, and he ventured into one of the passageways to satisfy his sense of exploration. As he moved away from the illuminated portion, the surroundings gradually grew darker. Nevertheless, he pressed on and soon found himself entering a larger section, which he eagerly explored using his dive torch for light. After realizing that his friend might be concerned about his whereabouts, Abram decided to retrace his steps and return to the designated path. Spotting another passageway, he noticed a glimmer of light in the distance. Although this passageway seemed narrower, he paid it little mind as he could see the reflection of light ahead. With hopes of swiftly finding his way back to the correct path, Abram ventured into the passageway, but soon he became aware that it was gradually becoming narrower. He proceeded cautiously, inching his way forward head first, utilizing his hips, stomach, and fingers to navigate through the constricted passage. Unfortunately, within a matter of minutes, a realization dawned upon him. A dire mistake had been made. Abram was now trapped, with barely any room to turn around, let alone wriggle back the way he came. His only option was to press forward. Desperate to make progress, he attempted to squeeze through a tiny space. However, Abram found himself firmly wedged in place, unable to move any further. As Diego neared the surface, he became aware that Abram was nowhere in sight. Confusion and concern gripped his mind. What could have transpired? Did Abram venture ahead without him? Determined to find answers, Diego proceeded with his ascent, hoping to locate his missing companion. However, as he reached the surface, Abram was still nowhere to be found. Panic consumed Diego, and without hesitation, he plunged back into the water, desperately hoping to encounter Abram along the way. Thankfully, he had sufficient air supply for an unplanned dive. With a sense of urgency, Diego scanned the surrounding area, scouring every nook and cranny for any possible indication of Abram's presence. But to his dismay, he didn't come across any trace of his dear friend. Continuing along the series of loops, Diego reached the point where he discovered a disturbed and murky passageway, the very same one that Abram had entered earlier. His heart raced with worry, but as he illuminated the path with his torch, he struggled to see what lay ahead. Amidst his contemplation, he noticed a faint ray of light emanating from one of the adjacent passageways, which caught his attention. Intrigued, he decided to investigate its source. With cautious steps, Diego ventured into the darkness, but soon realized he couldn't proceed any further due to the narrowness of the passage. However, within his limited field of vision, he spotted Abram a few feet away, hopelessly trapped in the tight confines of the passageway. Diego's heart sank at the sight. Abram's arms were wedged beneath his chest, rendering him immobile and helpless. Despite his desire to assist his friend, Diego acknowledged that he alone couldn't provide the necessary aid. Reluctantly, he made the difficult decision to leave Abram behind and rush to seek help. Diego frantically scrambled toward the cave's exit, determined to find assistance as quickly as possible. Fortunately, Diego came across a group of skilled and experienced divers who promptly agreed to accompany him. With their guidance, they swiftly reached the spot where Abram remained trapped, his air supply dwindling rapidly. One of the divers bravely entered the constricted passageway, only to realize they would be unable to reach Abram without widening the passage. After carefully evaluating this situation, The divers concluded that a specialized rescue team and specialized equipment were essential to extricate him safely. Regrettably, they had no choice but to leave Abram behind, alone in the darkness, while they sought the necessary assistance. The situation weighed heavily on their hearts as they departed, knowing that time was of the essence to secure the required resources for Abram's rescue. Upon reaching the surface, they immediately contacted the authorities and provided a detailed account of the unfortunate situation. However, due to logistical constraints, the authorities could only assemble a rescue team and gather the necessary equipment by the following day. The prospect of rescuing Abram alive seemed bleak, casting a shadow of despair over Diego's heart. Determined not to abandon his friend in his time of need, Diego made the difficult decision to camp near the cave that night, refusing to leave Abram's side. With a heavy heart, Diego reached out to Abram's father, sharing the devastating news of his son's predicament. The next day, at the break of dawn, the long-awaited rescue team arrived at the cave. Equipped with drills and ropes, they began the process of widening the passageway. However, on getting to where Abram was, he was no longer alive. He had tragically passed right there. The rescue team worked for 10 hours to retrieve Abram's lifeless body. They finally succeeded in extricating him from the passageway. A heavy atmosphere of grief and loss filled the air as friends, family, and rescuers joined together to honor the memory of Abram, a young soul whose life was cut tragically short. We would like to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed watching, take a dive on the like and subscribe buttons and hit the bell icon so you get notified when we come back with another exciting cave diving story.